sort of get the game plan, and how do you go about planning for this game, not knowing?
Yeah, I don't know, how we can beat these guys with a full lineup at practice, let alone 3/4 of your lineup not here all week. What don't they have? We're playing the world champs. What don't they have? They got a great quarterback, great receivers, great tight ends, line's physical, and they're coming off a bye, so it's a daunting task. I know one thing that we're going to show up at 5:20. We're going to 100% because that's what we do. So we'll get these guys ready to play. Whoever's out there at 5:20, they'll be ready to go.
Hey, Paul, I asked Jeff this yesterday about the turnovers. Obviously, you guys had a huge game in that regard against Denver. Is that something where you can identify things you did well in order to replicate that, or is that just sort of a one-off type of situation in that particular game?
I think, as long as, I've been a coordinator and position coach throughout the time in the league here, sometimes you get started early in the season with turnovers and those things, and nobody talks about it. And then when you don't have as many, they start coming in bunches. So I think what we do in practice, we try to make a big emphasis of the turnovers, whether the interceptions, punch outs, whatever it is, and continue to harp on those things in practice. And eventually they're going to show up in a game. When you have 5 in a game like we did, that's obviously on the high end of things. But if we continue to practice what we emphasize, hopefully it shows up on Sunday, and that's what happened this past week.
Yeah, Paul, Jerry McDonald. You haven't had a lot of guys on your defense for 3 years, but you are in your 3rd year with Nick Morrow, and I'm just curious to hear your thoughts about his development and what we saw against Denver. Was that like a coming out party, or is that the gradual thing that you've been seeing coming?
It's funny you said that. We were just out in the practice field thinking back in 2008, what guys we had just 2 years ago on our defense, and he was one of the 3. So I just think with his knowledge of the system now, his comfort in the system, he's a guy who can play multiple spots for us. I just think he's playing real confident right now. He knows what to do. He can see formations and plays before it happens. And the biggest thing he's doing, he's being a great communicator out there. He's talking more. He's alerting guys. He's setting fronts and setting pressures for us. So he's only going to get better. I really like where he's going.
Paul, kind of piggybacking off of talking about Nick Morrow, one of the things that he said that he really had to do to develop in the league is really become more confident in his skill set. What have you done as a defensive coordinator to really help him get his confidence up, especially coming out of a smaller school?
Just getting him to see the little things. I think, he's a smart guy to know where to line up, and what he's doing, he's self-correcting himself in practice. Before I can even walk up to him and make a correction, he'll say, I should have done this, or, hey, I saw this, whatever it is. It's the little detail things with him that he's really, really becoming an expert on, and that's what makes you become a good player to a great player, and that's the trend he's moving on.
Hey, how much does not having those 8 guys there physically limit what he can do in terms of preparation and adjustments for the game this weekend?
Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, it's tough enough when you have, a full allotment of guys at practice. You got to get them on a Zoom, but it's just not the same when you're taking the reps. So, it'll be a big challenge for us either way. Whoever can play, whenever they can get here to play, to get them caught up on the plan of those things. But we're not going to gear back as far as that goes.
Hi, Paul. Obviously, a few weeks ago, the offense kind of went through the same thing where they had the 5 offensive linemen all sent home during the week. Do you think there was anything you were able to take from that can help you out with they kind of going through the same situation this week?
Well, it's a little bit different. The offense had one position group that was kind of decimated for the week. We have guys at all 3 levels of our defense that aren't here and practicing and in the meetings where you can look them in the eye or you can take them through things on the practice field, little tweaks of whatever it may be that this team does. So we just got to do the best job we can as coaches. We got a great staff here on the defensive side of getting the information out to the players and really detailing those things, spending a little bit more extra time, say after practice on the Zoom meetings with these guys so they understand the details of the game plan.
Coach, just so I'm understanding correctly, the guys that are isolating at home, what are they doing while you're physically conducting practice? Are they watching via Zoom?
They are able to watch. They're able to watch the practice film afterwards. They're working out, so their conditioning stays at a high level. So we have a plan for all those things. This is all new, really, to all of us, having this many guys out. So, that's the plan we've kind of put in place. Get their conditioning, keep that at a high level, making sure they're understanding the plan, whether they're watching practice or watching the practice film. and maybe hearing guys on the practice field that are mic'd up and those type of things, so they can be on point come Sunday.
Paul, when you face a team the second time around, how much more does it kind of become a game of deception?
I think you do. You may have a couple wrinkles here and there, both on their offense and our defense. But really, when it gets down to the nitty gritty of things, you go back to the foundation of what's got you there. Obviously, they're playing at a very high level. They're 8-1, so they're liking some of the things that they do. But I'm sure coming off a bye week with the extra time to study us, and typically coming off a bye week, you'll have a couple new wrinkles on the offense. So we'll have to adjust to those things and be good on the sideline between series.
Hey, Paul, you obviously already said that it's tough enough to face a team like the Chiefs when you have your full complement of players in practice all week, and not having a lot of them is making it even tougher. But in a weird way, does it almost kind of diminish it a little bit, the fact that you already play them and you're very familiar with them and you did put together a pretty good game plan the first time you faced them?
Yeah, but the familiarity part is good. But I think, again, it's a different opponent. They're coming off a bye week. They have changed somewhat over the last 3 or 4 weeks since we played them. But yeah, the familiarity of the offense helps out in this. We're not playing an unfamiliar opponent, if that's what you're asking me. So they'll have some recall on some of those things. So that'll be helpful.
All right, looks like that's it. Thanks,
That's
Coach.
it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you guys.
Let's get started.
Hey, Greg, Jerry McDonald. I think people think when they're thinking about quarterbacks calling audibles, they're usually thinking about, run to pass. But you guys are so committed to the run. There are times when Derek's going to switch from pass to run or one run to another run if he gets a better look. Just curious your observation on his development in that area in terms of seeing the field, seeing the best running plays as well as the best passing plays.
Yeah, I think we touched upon this a couple weeks ago, Jerry, just about where we saw the biggest growth in Derek Carr in the time that he was drafted until now. And to me, it's been about, again, his understanding of defensive football. And that allows us as an offensive group to be able to utilize his knowledge really at the line of scrimmage and get us into good plays or out of bad plays. And it's really been good to see.
Hey, Greg, yesterday John was talking about mixing the old school runs with the RPO stuff. Has that been tough to implement over the years? And how much fun is that now as a game player to have both those options?
Well, it helps to have a fullback. And I think, John would tell you it's kind of a dying breed right now in high school football. I think it's a lot easier to get a bunch of skill-type players to get to, build your football team around at the high school level because they get a lot smaller kids at that level. But because of our, the ability with Alec Ingold and what he's able to give us in the run game, it makes it easier to do the, what you would consider old school style run game. And really we're built for it up front. We've talked about our inside three really kind of being the strength going forward. And, they're comfortable with those type of schemes.
Hey, Greg, how does Hunter Renfrow get himself so open on third down? I mean, third and Renfrow kind of becomes kind of a theme for him, but I mean, it just seems like he's always getting himself open there.
Yeah, and you go back to, college experience at Clemson with Dabo Swinney, he'd probably tell you the same thing. He's got great balance, great understanding. Again, he's got a great understanding of defensive football. He's a former high school quarterback, and a coach's son. And that helps him in understanding where the holes are in the zone. But also, he's just got great body balance and body position in his route running, and he works at it. It's a credit to him for his work ethic and overall knowledge of the game.
Coach, so much talk about the defense and who's missing this week. Does that impact your guys' ability to practice as well, not having so many guys out there?
Yeah, just because of the service squads. When we say one side of the ball has to help service the other side, and because they're down on the defensive line, it makes it difficult for us to ask we can't ask the guys that they have right now practicing to also give us a look on the show squad. So it leaves you thin, in terms of your preparation. But we went through it, a couple weeks ago when our offensive line missed the entire week. So it's not a premier situation or something you want to go through, but we managed to make it work.
Any more questions for Greg?
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, Nick, Jerry McDonald. I'm curious as what it's like to be out there to look around and have so many of your teammates not be there and how that impacts preparation for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's definitely a little different. I mean, a lot of the starting guys aren't in there, but it's next guy up mentality, so just got to adjust to it, and hopefully those guys get back to it soon.
Nick, I know that you went to high school in Huntsville, Alabama. I myself is also an Alabama native as well. What would you say is the biggest culture shock that you experienced coming from the South and also the East Coast in Indiana to the West Coast here in Oakland and also Las Vegas?
That's a good question. I think my first time I drove into California, I got off the plane, I saw palm trees. I was like, what are these? That was pretty cool. The landscape's a little different, but the weather's great in California. It's a little hot here. I kind of like it though. So it's a lot different than Alabama for sure.
Hey Nick, this is Vic. Coach Guenther was talking about how comfortable you are now in the system in your third year. What was the biggest adjustment to the system, and how have you tried to help new players this year when they come in? What do you tell them about the system and how they can fit in quickly?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about this system from the system that I was in my rookie year was a lot of progression-based defense, and so it's a lot of communication that you have to have either post-snap or pre-snap. And so just getting the terminology down is one thing. Understanding the formations is another thing, because dictating by the formations dictates what the coverage is on the backside or front side. So the biggest thing is just understanding the terminology. So just getting your playbook, understanding that, and then communicating with one another. And that comes through OTAs, training camp, and being on the field, obviously. So.
Nick, you had some success, especially last week, blitzing a couple times on Drew Lock. What's the key to a successful blitz for you, and how do you feel you've progressed just in that area of your game?
I don't know the key to it. I mean, I think PG does a good job of studying the offense protections throughout the week. And he does a good job of setting us up, and he usually tries to get a free runner. Obviously, if you don't have a free runner, you got to win your one-on-ones. So just understanding the protection of the offense, where the center's going to slide, who the back has, stuff like that, can help you time up your blitz, and sometimes it can help you just decide, I'm going to go outside on this side, I'm going to go inside. It just helps understand this is how they're protecting it, this is how we want to attack it.
Nicholas, how you doing? Sam Gordon here, Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm just curious, man, how did playing at Greenville prep you for the NFL, and at what juncture during your college career did you realize, even though you were at the D3 level, that playing at the NFL was a realistic and feasible accomplishment for you?
Yeah. When I showed up at Greenville, I didn't think I'd make it to the NFL. My mentality going into Greenville was just to be the best player I could possibly be. It's a Division III school, so I had to pay to go there. And if I was going to pay to go there, I wanted to be the best that I could be. So every week I just tried to compete against my best self. So whatever I did last week, I wanted to do better that week. I didn't realize I could make it to the league, honestly, until the league called. But it was like my junior year. I made a play, and one of the refs came to me and was like, keep doing what you're doing, and you'll see yourself in the league. So it wasn't until that point by my junior year that I believed that I could honestly make it.
I want to ask you, what's the biggest challenge going against Travis Kelce?
There's a lot. I think with Kelce, obviously he's a great route runner. He can catch the ball. He's really good against his zone. He can find the open spots against his zone. So being patient is one thing. Understanding where your help is, that's another thing. And playing your leverage. So those are the three keys, man. Understanding your help, being patient, and playing your leverage.
Hey Nick, Paul Guenther here from ESPN. When you go out there to practice, number one, does it kind of feel like, do you feel like Will Smith in the final scene of Fresh Prince when he's looking around and there's nobody else there? And number two, I mean, is it almost kind of a silver lining that you're playing a team that, yes, they're explosive and they have weapons all over the field, but you've already beaten them and you know them so well that if and when those guys come back to practice, it's kind of like getting back on a bike.
Yeah, it is different being out there. There aren't that many familiar faces. We got a lot of new guys too, even with the practice squad guys. So it's definitely a change. Yeah, we competed against them before. We played them early in the season and we had success. But as you know, when you play a division team, every time you play them, it's a different team, right? They got new players like Le'Veon, the offensive line. They have new offensive linemen. And then I know the KO went down in our game. I think their tackles haven't practiced, or at least they didn't practice last I checked. And so every time you play a division team twice, the second time you play them, it's a different team, so you have to adjust your game plan and find your success that way.
Any more questions for Nick? All right, great. Thank you, Nick.
Good.